Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the LGBT Masterclass. I'll just take this off. I learned once it looks better as a speaker if you don't have your badge on. My name is Ian Johnson. I'm the founder and CEO of Out Now. We're a global LGBT marketing specialist. We don't do many things. We just do LGBT, and we try to do it better than anybody ever imagined. That's all we're trying to accomplish, but we get better year on year, which we're happy about. Here's a roadmap of what we'll talk about today. We have a lot of material to cover. The clock is not our friend. We have so much material. You will be able to access all of the material by leaving your business card with us before you leave. This shows you what we're looking at. We have a lot to cover, so let's begin immediately. Okay, Out Now. We were set up 22 years ago by myself in Australia. We were set up because it was my vision that there would come a day like this when organisations and companies may want to know who the gay people were. Today it's a very different world, so of course we're not just gay marketing. We talk about LGBT, and we'll have a look at that acronym. But basically what we're about is to use marketing to understand people's lives and then to create solutions to help to make those lives better, no matter where they live in the world. We like to challenge ourselves. I'm getting very old now, and it gets boring to do the same thing you've always done. I like that when I said old. One guy smiled and he thought, "You're not old." Well, he might have thought, "No, you're older than old," but anyway. Next level thinking is something that is very important to how we operate. This applies to us and our clients. We constantly try to imagine what nobody thought of yet, and then test it in the marketplace and then bring it to market if it looks like it's a success, so that we can all do just that little bit better at writing the envelope upwards. These are the 5 things that we do. Excuse me: research, strategic consulting, communications, training, and networking. We do that for a lot of different brands. I'm very honoured today that a couple of clients who have been with us for a very long time, Berlin Tourism and Marketing, my colleague and friend Ralf Ostendorf is here, and Klaus Lohmann from German National Tourist Office, who is also one of our earliest clients in Europe. So we are very happy when clients connect well with us, and it's a nice feeling to build a partnership together. So because I know most of you know the basics, but some of you may not, I'm going to go quite quickly through about 22 years of history in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. But you can contact us at any time with your questions, and we are very happy to hear from people always, and we will give you more information, more background, anything you felt was not clear. We do want you to let us know. Basically, what happened in those 22 years was a journey from ignorance to respect. Now, ignorance is different to homophobia. Ignorance was what happened when I left my job as a lawyer to set up this marketing company. My partner said, "What are you going to market?" He couldn't quite understand that gay and marketing could go together. So that was not homophobic. That was ignorant. He didn't know what he didn't know yet. And happily, we've charted a journey where inclusion is now much more the norm. And I'm even happier to say that something we've been pushing for 3 years now, which is inclusion is not enough. It's respect, which is the catchphrase that we are pushing as the next level thought with all of our clients. If we can demonstrate respect to our customers, then we have every right to expect that they will respect our brands back, and that's very much our view. You can see things have changed a lot. I remember my younger brother carrying around something that looked lethal. If somebody tried to steal it, he could just kill them with it, with a mobile phone back in the early 90s when we set up. But it was a very different world. There was no discussion of marriage. We now have one of the best honeymoon destinations in the world, Hawaii, about to enact equal marriage laws, becoming I believe, the 15th US state to do so. In terms of the US market, I was there last week at a conference in Minneapolis about workplace diversity, and I made a point which several people said they agreed with. What we're seeing in the US in terms of marriage equality, we predicted here at WTM back in 2008 that marriage equality is inevitable all over the world. It's just a question of how quickly we get there and how quickly America gets there. I spoke with the lawyer who represented Edie Windsor, a woman who challenged the Defence of Marriage Act successfully, a lovely lady called Ronnie Kaplan, and we had a chat. It's Ronnie's view that the US will, within a number of short years, see marriage equality right across the country. For us, as travel industry professionals, this has one word attached, which is honeymoons, and maybe a second word, which is weddings. We'll have another look at that, but one interesting point to note, we released some new research on Monday, which you can find in the WTM press releases. 73% of respondents to our LGBT2020 research program say that they will not travel to holiday in a destination which does not treat its local LGBT people with equal respect. I did an interview with USA Today earlier this year, and we discovered together that, in fact, this is now translating into bottom line dollars. There are people who are marrying and going to a jurisdiction that has marriage equality. Even if they could have done it differently, they'd prefer to go there for the marriage and or the honeymoon in order to support with their dollars these equal laws. So that's now, but back to the past, it was a very different world. LGBT, if you're wondering, means lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender. A quick word on transgender. Transgender is when you look in the mirror and the face that looks back at you is the wrong gender. So if I felt that I was really female, and that's my essence, I'm female, but I see a male face looking in the mirror, then that makes me a transgender person, and it is far more common than you might imagine. There is another issue which is important to mention, and that's the word intersex. Firstly, LGB is lesbian, gay, bisexual. These are sexual orientations. Whether you fall in love with another man or another woman, or you could fall in love with either and be in love, then you're lesbian, gay, or bisexual. If your gender identity feels wrong to you, then you're transgender. Intersex is increasingly something we will need all to talk about and to know. LGBTI is an acronym you will start to see increasingly. It's already in some markets, such as Australia, becoming the dominant acronym rather than LGBT. And intersex relates to your physical birth characteristics. When a baby is born, the doctor looks down and goes, it's a boy, it's a girl. If you're an intersex person, it's not that easy, and there are characteristics of both male and female genders, and that happens again more commonly than you might imagine. So we are on a journey at Out Now to learn more about intersex and to help to educate our clients on what we need to know. And it's not a question of agree or disagree, it's a question of reality. If these things happen, we all must adapt and move with the market. So that was good. That wasn't 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That was more like about 6, so I better speed up the pace. 21 years ago, alcohol was the only industry category that was really interested in talking to the gay market. Why? Because it was only the sales reps of alcohol companies that could demonstrate without any doubt that that sale they just made was to a gay venue, because gay nightlife back then was to do with lesbian bars and clubs, gay saunas, gay restaurants, gay discos. And it was the alcohol purveyors who understood there is a market here, followed soon after by travel. My personal take on that is that there is a healthy representation of homosexuality within the tourism industry, and I think that a lot of people working in their own companies decided to jump on the alcohol tails and take LGBT tourism as the second segment into the general marketplace. So we moved from ignorance to tolerance. Around 18 years ago, Out Now made Qantas's first ever gay and lesbian ad in Australia. You saw the automotive industry enter through Toyota, again in Australia. That was the first automotive advertising ever in the world targeting a gay market. 2 men and their dogs, and it's called the family car. And also IBM's first gay campaign took place at around the same time out of our Sydney office. So we're starting to move from tolerance to acceptance. These things are on the screen quickly, and it sounds easy. Anyone in the room who's as old as I am and who lived these years knows that this was not easy. There are hard-fought battles in here. There are people who died from AIDS. There are a whole load of historical facts that I gloss through here for time reasons. But this is people's lives. To us, LGBT spells people. It always has and it always will. Whatever acronym we choose, it's always about people. So we're moving from tolerance to acceptance. Interestingly, in the mid-90s, in America, in 2 cities, for one night only, 30 seconds of TV changed everything.
Well, you know, we went to IKEA because we thought it was time for a serious dining room table, and
we have slightly different tastes. I mean, Steve's more into country. It frightens me, but at the same time, I have compassion.
We've been together about 3 years.
I met Steve at my sister's wedding. I was really impressed with how just well designed. The IKEA furniture was.
He's really into craftsmanship.
And these chairs are really sturdy.
This table included a leaf.
A leaf means
Commitment.
staying together, commitment. We've got another leaf waiting when we really start getting along.
What a genius idea. Swedish company, already seen as a little bit outside the mainstream in America anyway, cashing in on a stereotype, which I have to say from my own messy abode is not always true, but the stereotype is that gay males have fabulous taste in furnishings and their homes are gorgeous. So of course they would shop at IKEA, and shouldn't you? They even were visionary in foreshadowing relationship recognition and the adoption of children. The last bit is talking about a new leaf in the table for when they actually start having children. In the mid-90s, this was revolutionary, and this was in every print media product that you could read during that period. Pre-internet, it travelled, news travelled that this had happened. 30 seconds, one night only, was talked about. We're still talking about it. It's a very, very clever campaign. 10 years ago, the internet changed everything for all of us in terms of distribution, publishing, and so forth. We start to see staff diversity accelerate. That's what's called employee resource groups. Those of you working in larger companies may be lucky enough to have one. If you do, check them out. They're often a really good resource to network and meet other LGBT people in your company, both within your own organisation and also at other offices of larger companies around the world. And 12 years ago now, almost 12 years ago, Out Now opened in Europe. So we're starting to change. This is where most companies got to about 5 years ago and remain, which is inclusion, which is good, but we prefer respect, which is another level again. So 5 years ago, one of the things I like about the future is it's happening right now. We just can't see it because we're so close to it. We don't actually know till we look back that we go, oh yeah, Twitter, when did I hear about it? I don't know, but that's everywhere. Oh yeah, Facebook, oh yeah. So then suddenly the future arrives and we don't notice. But 5 years ago, these things, social media changed everything. But consumers are beginning to rebel. If you're going to market to the LGBT market and you're thinking of using quick and easy stereotypes, be careful. If you're not clever or there's not a twist or some good humour involved, you risk the consumer, the traveller, thinking that you don't understand them and they won't support you as a result. But definitely from 5, 7, 8 years ago, the big brands across Europe, America, and even now in Latin America are getting on board. Okay, let's talk research for a moment. There's a lot of data out there. A lot of it tends to be American-centric. We work into America. We have a sub-brand called Out Now America. We do a lot of work for clients into the US and Canada through that particular office. But it frustrated us that most of the research out there was very US-centric. And so we took it upon ourselves at Out Now to bring about a new shift and next-level thinking, challenge ourselves. So we're now researching this year and next. We will reach 27 countries. We're already in 12 languages, and I think we'll be in 15 languages before the end of the first quarter next year, sampling the world with the same questions around the world. If you want to have a look what we're asking them, you can visit LGBT2020, that's LGBT2020.com, and just click on one of the flags in the language you most prefer, and you can have a look at what kinds of data we collect. We'll have a little look at some of it today. But given that I still have some coffee left to drink, and I have one of the absolute leaders of LGBT tourism development to hand over, I think it's time I left the podium. I chose this word advisedly. The word leadership fits our next speaker absolutely. We are very, very fortunate today to have with us Mr. Richard Gray from Fort Lauderdale CVB. Please join me in welcoming him.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Suzanne. It's been a great being a part here of the Out Now business class LGBT village. And as you can probably detect from my accent, I am from London, but of course left this wonderful weather and decided I needed some sunshine in my life. So welcome to Greater Fort Lauderdale, and as our new campaign says, and as hopefully you have some glasses, hello sunny. We are an LGBT destination success story, and it all happened by chance.
Hang 10 or hang loose. Florida's LGBT hotspot is calling. Hello, Sunny. Get to know Greater Fort Lauderdale at sunny.org.
We are, for those of you that haven't been to Greater Fort Lauderdale, a progressive, diverse, all-welcoming, multifaceted, and fun destination with an extremely high comfort zone. We launched our LGBT initiative in 1996, and we started with a budget of $35,000. 17 years later today, that budget now exceeds $400,000 a year. We are the only CVB in the United States with a designated employee, probably if not in the globe, whose sole responsibility is the LGBT market. That's how significant the market is to Greater Fort Lauderdale. Besides being the spokesperson and the representative for the LGBT market, I'm responsible for implementing short and long-term strategic plans and for developing and increasing LGBT group business. And also, I want Fort Lauderdale to become the global LGBT industry leader. Leadership is essential, and it starts at the top of the surfboard in Fort Lauderdale, but for everyone else, it starts at the top of the ladder, and I mean the top of the ladder. To be successful in the LGBT market, it is essential to embrace it from the inside out before embarking on an LGBT strategy. I met with our president and CEO in 1995, and she gave me her seal of approval to go after this market. So to each and every one of you here, I would say within your company, middle management is not enough. You really have to get the direction and the seal of approval from the president of your company. Here's a little bit of our LGBT history in Greater Fort Lauderdale, just to show you how progressive we are as a county within the state of Florida. Since 1998, Greater Fort Lauderdale protects LGBT residents and visitors, barring discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression in employment, housing, and lodging. We're one of the first states to do this, one of the first counties, I mean. Actually, last month, the US Census announced Fort Lauderdale as the #1 city in the US with the highest concentration of same-sex couples. Surprisingly, San Francisco was #3, and Seattle was #2. In October of this year, our county became the first to implement diversity education in our public schools. We are the #1 LGBT destination in the state of Florida and have one of the largest LGBT communities in the United States, with hundreds of LGBT-owned and operated businesses. Per Community Marketing, we are the #8 LGBT destination in the United States for leisure and business travelers. We are the #1 gay male resort destination in the United States. We're home to one of the largest pride centers in the United States. We're home to the Sunshine Cathedral, which has one of the largest LGBT congregations in the United States. We're home to the Stonewall National Museum and Archives, which is soon to become the first LGBT organization in the United States to be associated with the Smithsonian. We have the world headquarters of the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association. We have one of the top transgender surgeons in the United States. And we are a growing LGBT family resident community and vacation destination. So as you can see, we have a very large, we have a great backbone. We have a great community, and that has really been the backbone that enabled us to grow LGBT tourism. Tomorrow, Magic Johnson is arriving in Fort Lauderdale, and he's attending the pre-opening of the first World AIDS Museum. He was diagnosed with HIV 22 years ago on November the 7th, and tomorrow he is opening the AIDS Museum then. So, as I said earlier, we started our LGBT initiative in 1996, and truthfully, it was a piece of cake. You know, we had $35,000, which doesn't sound like a lot now, or maybe for some destinations it is a lot. But we just advertised in a handful of publications. We looked at Europe, and I selected Spartacus. I just felt that was something safe to do in Europe. Just as a traveler, I used Spartacus when I was in Europe. In the United States, The Advocate seemed sensible. You know, it's a sort of conservative publication. The Dameron Guidebook, because it had a great reach and, you know, sort of at that time, a 35-year history. And a travel-specific, LGBT travel-specific publication called Out and About. So we embarked on that strategy. Very, very quickly, I tell you, there was gold at the end of the rainbow for us. Within 5 years, people were talking about Fort Lauderdale. We had lived in the shadow of Key West and Miami in Florida, and everyone associated Fort Lauderdale as this sort of spring break destination that really didn't offer much. And yet, you know, we had 26 miles of beaches, we had, you know, a huge LGBT nightlife, and nobody knew about it. So just starting off then in '96 with those 5 publications, we started to educate everybody about Fort Lauderdale. Within the last few years, competition was pecking at our heels, and we've always tried to stay ahead of the curve. And so we decided that this was time that we would integrate our LGBT campaign into our mainstream initiative. So in 2014, we are starting a campaign in Details magazine, focusing on the Northeast in particular, and we'll also be participating with Visit Florida in their LGBT marketing initiative. We're continuing to look at iPad-specific LGBT magazines, domestic and international mobile apps, as well as a Facebook campaign that will seek a younger traveler. We're not quite going after the millennials yet. We're definitely a Gen X destination, but we're certainly looking at that market. And our geographic target is going to continue to be the Northeast of America. That's our hardcore market. For those of you that don't know, most people think that the #1 air traffic route in the United States is New York to Los Angeles, but it's actually New York to Fort Lauderdale. And our airport is going through an amazing transformation. We have a new runway, and we have new international service opening. And in fact, Norwegian Airlines is starting service from Gatwick next July into Fort Lauderdale, along with other Scandinavian routes that they're doing. And we're also focusing on the South American market, which is an enormous market for us, Argentina and Brazil especially. And our goal, of course, is to educate the younger LGBT traveler that Greater Fort Lauderdale is Florida's sunny, hip, gay capital. And overall, I talked to you about the integration. We're integrating everything. This is our vacation planner, our Hello Sunny vacation planner. And actually, we started the integration process last year, whereby we have an LGBT section here. We used to have a specific rainbow planner, and we decided, no, we're going to make that commitment. And if we have any negative calls, we're prepared to field them. But to be honest with you, we very rarely receive anything negative. So this commercial that I'm going to show you, we launched in January, and it ran on all the networks, all the major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. We ran it on the Food Channel, we ran it on Bravo, we ran it on a few other channels, and we also ran it in the Chicago market.
Ever noticed turtles don't have schedules? Been okay with a bad hair day? Do you want to hang 10? Or maybe just hang loose? It's time for a new spin in a place where happy meets go lucky. Hello, Sunny. Get to know Greater Fort Lauderdale at sunny.org.
It was a big step for us to make that leap. But once we made that leap, we then said, well, why didn't we do it a while ago? Events are a big part of our calendar, and we are promoting our events, hopefully if this will work. And we're encouraging more events to happen. We have Gay Pride. We have 2 Gay Prides in Greater Fort Lauderdale. We have one in March. We have a new event that next year will be in its 3rd year that brings 2,000 bears to Fort Lauderdale Beach, which is kind of amazing because the gay beach, for those of you who are not familiar with Fort Lauderdale, sits right next to a Ritz-Carlton. So in May we had 2,000 big, hairy, large men. And all these sort of Ritz-Carlton guests were like, what's going on here? So it was kind of funny. We have another Pride in Wilton Manors called the Stonewall Summer Pride. We have our Gay and Lesbian Film Festival. We have an amazing Halloween party called Wicked Wilton in Wilton Manors. And then, of course, on December the 1st, World AIDS Day, we have a candlelight vigil. So our highlight, I had to pick one highlight, for 2013, I'd always steered away from gay prides, but this year we decided we would go to New York City to the gay pride there, and of course we lucked out. The Supreme Court had ruled on gay marriage, so it just happened to be New York's largest gay pride, and there are over 1.5 million attendees. And what we do, we brought our beach to Fort Lauderdale. So on that image behind you, you can see we have our beach on wheels. We call that part of our guerrilla marketing campaign that we do. And every winter we bring our beach to some very frigid destinations. So we tend to bring it to Toronto, Chicago, New York, and that. And we tend to have an event, and obviously we'll always have a gay event as well. So this was very successful. We had 4 of our images were picked up by the Associated Press that reached across the whole of the United States. We made the front of the New York papers, so it was a fantastic investment for us. So let's talk about how many travelers come to Greater Fort Lauderdale and how we gauge our success. So in 2012, we had 12 million visitors, spent $9 billion, almost $10 billion. And of those visitors, we truly believe, and we actually believe that we're low in these numbers, that 1.2 million of those were LGBT travelers, and they spent $1.4 billion. And we've been saying it for a while, that the LGBT market is not a niche market. Everyone would say, oh, it's a niche market. But in Greater Fort Lauderdale, it's not a niche market. If you come to Fort Lauderdale, you will just see lesbian and gay people are everywhere. Bisexual, transgender people, they're everywhere. So our website is sunny.org, and we receive 3 million unique visitors a year, which is quite substantial for a destination of our size. And of those 3 million, 15% of those go to our LGBT microsite. That's for over 450,000 unique visitors traffic that website. So that is really how we gauge our success. We also gauge it as to the hoteliers, and I have one of our hoteliers here, Russell Jenkins, from the wonderful Hilton on Fort Lauderdale Beach here, who has all actively courts the gay market, specifically the group business market, and that for us is a very important market to go after, is the LGBT group business, because we know that if we can win an LGBT group meeting to Greater Fort Lauderdale, we are 100% confident that we will win those as leisure travelers. That's it. Time is out.
An East London hotel is insisting that it does not tolerate homophobic behaviour after a guest complained he and his boyfriend were discriminated against. Nick Hurley booked a double room at the Thistle City Barbican Hotel, but claims he and his partner were repeatedly asked if they wanted single beds instead of a double when they checked in on Saturday night. Victoria Hollins has the story.
Gavin and Nick aren't looking back on the weekend they've just had in London as fondly as they hoped to. They went to the theatre, they saw some friends, But their stay here at the Thistle City Barbican Hotel was ruined when they claim they were refused a double room by the receptionist despite having booked one online.
He typed away on his computer for a few more minutes and then looked us up and down again and repeated the same question saying, are you sure that you don't want a room with separate beds? Do you want a double bed or separate beds? And we said, no, we're quite sure that we want what we've booked, the double room. I kind of got an icy tone and an icy vibe considering we were the guests.
It just made me feel a bit uncomfortable and a bit sort of like a second-class citizen. You think, well, I'm the same as everyone else. What does it matter whether I'm sleeping with a man or sleeping with a woman?
A representative for the hotel told me there simply were no more double rooms available when the couple arrived at 11:30 at night, which is why they were offered a family room with 3 single beds instead. He said that should have been suitably explained to the couple, but perhaps wasn't.
But the couple's adamant what they encountered was homophobia. Thistle Hotels has apologised and says,
we're investigating what was said by our member of staff that was offensive, but we're not willing to make a judgment until we have heard both sides of the story.
It begs the question, if this kind of thing's happening at one of your branches in what's meant to be a more progressive city, then is there an organisational problem and do you need to implement something of wider organisational change?
The hotel has offered a weekend away for the couple in any Thistle hotel, but Gavin and Nick have declined. Victoria Hollins, BBC London News.
Well, that didn't go well, but Richard Gray did go well. But that particular experience was not so good. It's one of the issues that we hear a lot, which is all about what do I do right, what do I do wrong. One of the things you can do to more effectively position yourself in this market is to let the customer know that you're comfortable, that you're open for LGBT business, and that your staff have the knowledge they need to be able to not make quite possibly an innocent mistake with the way that you interact with a gay couple or a lesbian couple who may come to get you to help them to buy travel. They're not there for affirmation, they just want to purchase your product. But the way that the sales interface happens can affect how they feel about your brand. For example, we asked the question of how many people would seek out LGBT welcoming hotels. And these are the people in different countries who strongly agree that when they look for a hotel, they actively seek out those hotels they believe to be genuinely welcoming. I told you I was old. We can see different rates in different countries. That bar is the people who agree, these people slightly agree, and then these people strongly disagree or disagree. So most people in this market, they don't want anything special. They're not looking for special treatment. They would just like, though, to know that they can be themselves when they book with you, when they stay with you, when they go to your local restaurants, when they visit your tourist attractions. As to why that matters, I can not say it as eloquently as these two gentlemen can.
Most places in the States will assume that two males staying in a room are friends, and therefore they will get two different beds.
The first inclination would be to offer the 2 double beds. In this case, the first inclination was to offer the 2 men 1 king-size bed. It was just unusual to hear that.
That was completely different. So it actually made it realize that it was okay.
An older, not a middle-aged, but an older straight woman, I mean, identifiably as such, with a wedding band and all, to be offering that to us.
They probably will assume that we're going to be sleeping in separate beds.
Mandarin Oriental. I think we had first. They offered us the 2 double beds, and we had to request
1 bed.
King size. But it was more of an ordeal.
Right.
It can.
In the States?
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, in the States it could be awkward.
It was awkward.
Because in the States, then you're having to let them know that, hey, I actually just want 1 bed for 2 guys. And then you feel that, well, you're going to either get a shitty room, it's not going to be all that great, or that you may be discriminated because all of a sudden you're coming out to them. So by not having to deal with that issue here, you feel accepted and you feel like, hey, it's okay. There's no big deal. No one cares what you do.
Actually, we had to weigh that in coming on this trip. Did we want to book a reservation with a hotel that was more gay-oriented, or did we want to book a hotel that we'd have to gamble on and, kind of act as we were friends
right.
and not act as a couple in a very straight environment. Well, we took the 5-star establishment for the price, and we gambled that being in that straight environment in the very high-end hotel,
right.
you know, that there would be a compromise.
But there was a risk.
You know
you
what?
felt you were taking a risk. You were taking
a risk. It was identifiably and absolutely a risk that until we entered the hotel that day, even up until the time that we walked through the doors and walked up to the register, do you think we're going to, we even made the comment, we said, do you think we're going to have a king-size bed? Or do you think they're going to offer us 2 doubles? So in the back of my mind, when I kind of mentioned that question to Gustavo, and this was at about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and all we want to do is crash on the bed, was how are we going to address this, and how awkward might it be? These were actual, yes, these were literal and actual feelings in checking in 2 nights ago in our hotel in Prague. I think 5-star in the States is typically straight. 5-star in the States is not gay.
It's not a gay.
I mean, I haven't experienced, I would love to experience that. I haven't been there yet.
But I'm...
So that shouldn't need to feel that way. You've paid your money to go on holiday. You shouldn't be walking in the front door wondering what's about to happen. You're tired from a flight. You should be expecting the room you booked, and you should be expecting to be welcomed. That can be done differently. One of the things that we work really hard at with Out Now Business Class, which is our global tourism association, it's a global network, and we undertake a lot of training. We provide all members of Out Now Business Class with complimentary online training for their staff in Spanish, French, German and English. We also undertake training workshops. This was a workshop that we undertook for JW Marriott in Cancun back in April. We had over 40 managers from JW Marriott Casa Magna and JW Marriott Resort in Cancun. They then took their knowledge back to their workplaces. We had over 900 of their staff train online over the following 2.5 months. So this is the way that you do it, so that now anyone staying in those properties can find out through our consumer information site, outnow.travel, that these particular properties have staff where you can be yourself and you can expect your booking to go smoothly. This is what that looked like.
It's the city's biggest event of the year. Stockholm even has a dedicated marketing network for the community, a recognition as much as anything else of its influence in trendsetting.
A lot of surveys shows that they are frequent travelers. They have a bigger spending account when they travel. And that is.
So we're very happy. Any of you who are in the Buyers Club, if you pick up a copy of WTM Business Magazine, there's actually an LGBT feature in there which talks about this particular 2 properties, and their training manager says that Out Now Business Class has been a real solution for Marriott in helping our managers understand the more detailed issues of training that help us deliver superior service, as well as the Out Now Business Class online training in Spanish, and that we've been key to their success in Cancun, which we're very pleased about. That's in the WTM Business Magazine. Now here's one of my favourite people in the world. Again, I can't speak as effectively as him, so for those who speak Spanish, you're about to meet one of my favourite people.
Hola, mi nombre es Andrés Reyes, soy de Guadalajara, México, y soy el consultor de OutNow para América Latina. Trabajo dándoles los talleres de capacitación para OutNow Business Class en la región. También trabajamos en el estudio de investigación LGBT2020 para fortalecer su tamaño de muestra y representatividad LGBT en México y en toda la región de América Latina. En adición a esto, OutNow trabaja en América Latina para ayudar a nuestros clientes a alcanzar el mercado de consumo LGBT, el cual es el de más rápido crecimiento del mundo y cada vez más importante para un gran número de empresas. Si usted desea aprender más acerca de cómo se pueden hacer negocios en la región latinoamericana, por favor pase a la villa LGBT de OutNow Business Class durante este World Travel Market y platique con Susan Jury o Darren Cooper, quienes le ayudarán a conectar conmigo y a su vez con el mercado LGBT en toda América Latina. Espero hablar con usted pronto. Gracias.
He's a really nice guy. If you'd like to connect with Andres to help your marketing into Latin America, have a chat to Suzanne Jerry, our communications guru and the Out Now Business Class LGBT Village, my colleague, and also Darren Cooper, our senior UK consultant who's here at the front. And they can connect you with Andres into the Latin American market. We keep him busy. This was Monday at the Café des Artistes, which is a signature chef restaurant in Puerto Vallarta. And we were training, doing a specific dining-focused training there for one of the best restaurants in Puerto Vallarta just last Monday. Now, I won't be able to show you all of this because the clock always wins, but I will, if you leave your business card, send you all of these slides, and I will include a YouTube link to this video. I'll just let you have a taste and then leave you wanting more. This is one of the best events I've ever seen built, and they're going into year 4 next year in June in Puerto Vallarta, and they'll also have their first event in Colombia in Mexico. It's an organization called LGBT2020, and here's what they're doing to open up Latin America. You can see, if you caught some of the logos in the bottom right there, how professional these guys are. They've got support from American Airlines, IBM, Discover Los Angeles, and more. So if you have a chance, check out LGBT2020. Now, I'm about to introduce our next speaker, and I'm very happy that we have him with us today. We don't have our listed speaker, Milko Rivera, from the Mexican Tourism Board, but we have possibly the smartest person in his office who's joining us. And I'll let him tell his own story. As he makes his way to the podium, I'll just mention one of the great things that Mexico's done that was really smart this year. If you go to Twitter or Facebook and you put in #MexicoFriendly, you'll find the kinds of things that the marketplace itself has now embraced. I tried it last night. I tweeted a picture of the LGBT village, and within about 8 minutes, we'd had 6 retweets using the hashtag #MexicoFriendly, and you can find that on Facebook and Twitter. That's something that Sector MX, Sector Mexico, which is the tourism office, is right behind. It's been picked up by loads of media around the world, such as CNN in Mexico and other places. And if you'd like to join me in welcoming Leopoldo Sanchez Valle Ortega, or as we like to call him, Polo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. Yes, Polo is better because Leopoldo Sanchez Valle Ortega is a quite long name, so thank you very much. When Ian invited us at the Mexico Tourism Board to have 10-minute time here, we took the opportunity to speak about Mexico because we really want to showcase in the UK and in Europe in general what Mexico has to offer in general and for the LGBT market as well. As you probably know, Mexico is very well known in North America for the LGBT market. However, in Europe, we feel that we need to strengthen that message. So that's the idea of this presentation. So I will go very quickly through a general presentation of Mexico, what Mexico has to offer. Mexico is a very big country, and this is important to mention because Mexico is composed by 31 states, and each state has different legislation, so we will see a little bit later how that concerns the LGBT tourism in our case. So, cultural experience, you may know we have 27 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. 4 of them are natural heritage sites, so we have a quite large offering in terms of activities, cultural activities. This is, of course, for the general public, but also for the LGBT market. Mexican gastronomy is one of the 3 gastronomies in the world that has been named as intangible World Heritage by UNESCO. We have a quite good weather everywhere all the time. Of course, we have now in this slide we have 27 degrees. We have a large range of different temperatures around the country, but generally speaking, quite good weather. Very good connectivity, so 58 international airports, which gives us a very good connectivity from the US, and from the UK we have direct flights from London and other cities in the UK, so basically British Airways, Virgin Airways, Aeromexico, and then other companies that fly directly to Mexico. So quite good connections. And then a very good infrastructure also in terms of hotels. Mexico is a top destination in terms of spas, and that we will go through a little bit later as well. And then finally, Mexican hospitality, which is one of our main assets, we think. So with world-class services, very good customer service. We have very good training in general in the tourism industry in Mexico, which makes a very good experience to visit in Mexico. So now if we focus a little bit on the LGBT market. So on the first part, we saw that Mexico has to offer some very important items for the LGBT market that the LGBT market embraces or likes. So now if we go to the more the legislation part, we know that Mexico City, as you can see in this map, probably you don't know, and that's something that we really want to let you know, has quite progressive legislation in terms of LGBT rights. So as you can see in this map, in Mexico City, which is right in the center of the map, the LGBT marriage is allowed since 2010, so that's a very, very good step for the LGBT community, as well as the state of Quintana Roo on the Caribbean side, so on the right, on the east side of the map. And then two other states in the northern state of Coahuila and in the western state of Jalisco, the civil partnerships are also allowed, so quite progressive legislation. So, of course, in 2003, we have the basis that we need to promote the LGBT, approach the LGBT market, which is quite strict federal law in terms of discrimination, against discrimination. This is a map with the 4 preferred destinations. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Mexico is a top destination for the LGBT market, especially in North America. So these are the 4 destinations that are preferred by the North American travelers. Cancun, that we have here in the Caribbean side, Mexico City, Guadalajara in the state of Jalisco, and then Puerto Vallarta also in the state of Jalisco on the Pacific coast. Now I will go to a small focus on Mexico City specifically. I will talk about Mexico City and then about Puerto Vallarta in special in this presentation. So Mexico City, 23 million inhabitants, very diverse city in terms of landscapes, monuments, in terms of people and cultures, urban cultures. So 23 million people makes a really, really diverse city. Of course, the LGBT community is, of course, the biggest in the country. So that makes a lot of attractions for the LGBT tourists. In terms of legislation for the LGBT market in Mexico City, it's all quite recent. When we saw in other countries, for example, in Fort Lauderdale, it goes back to the 90s. In Mexico City, it's quite recent. However, it all happened very, very quickly. So since 2009, since the government decided at that time to push the LGBT initiatives in terms of legislation and in terms of development of tourism, image, and etc., it all went very, very quick. In 2010, the law allowing same-sex marriage was passed. And in 2011, same-sex couples are, since 2011, they are allowed to adopt children as well. So Mexico City is a very inclusive city, which of course is very helpful to attract the LGBT tourists. If we go to Puerto Vallarta is probably the best known destination in North America, again, for tourism, so we are trying to showcase that in Europe as well. In Puerto Vallarta, there is a very strong community in Latin LGBT community, not only Mexican, but also North American. So all these initiatives in Puerto Vallarta come not only for the private sector, but also for the public sector. They just launched a new campaign at the beginning of this year. It's called Beyond Gay Friendly. I like a lot that because it also shows that it's not only having a gay-friendly image to attract the people, but we need to go a step further and then help with the help of the local community, try to attract people. Their strategy is based basically on their main assets, which is not only beach and adventure, but romance, art and culture, gastronomy, and events. Also, as mentioned previously in Fort Lauderdale, events is a very important part of the marketing to attract the LGBT market, hallmark events and also LGBT-focused events, and the nightlife, of course. And, well, Ian already mentioned this extraordinary exhibition that will be held in Puerto Vallarta in June 2014. So you are all invited. It will be from the 12th to the 14th of June. This is the first or the main exhibition of this kind, which is a business-to-business exhibition, which will be held in Puerto Vallarta this year. So thank you very much. And
thank you very much, Paulo. The work that's happening in Mexico and Latin America is really impressive and very professional, and I urge you to check it out. Okay, we're going to go into our next speaker, and I apologise that the clock looks the way it does. If anybody needs to leave at 12, we'll all understand. We may go 5 or 10 minutes over if that's okay. If you need to leave, that's fine as well. I apologise for that, but we will get through this. And it's worth hanging around, trust me. What we're going to do after Jay is to talk about the latest value of the total LGBT tourism spend, looking at 2013 data and projecting forwards into 2014. So if you can stick around for that, that's a bit of a headline item to take back to the office. I'd like you to join me in welcoming Jay Monroe-Michel, who is the Commercial Development Manager for the European Tour Operators Association, and they do some amazing things, which we're about to find out.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for allowing us to join the ONBC Masterclass here at World Travel Market. It's been about 4 years since we, as ITOA, the European Tour Operators Association, have initiated first contact with developing the with the IGLTA and other partnerships and ONBC to really look after the LGBT market. It's something that is quite close to our hearts because it's, we look after musical tours, cultural tours, archaeological companies. Every type of company in the inbound industry in Europe is looked after by ITOA. So it's ultimately about making sure that we are looking after everyone who is welcomed in Europe. We're all about welcoming visitors, and that's a natural part of it. So just a little bit about what we do. As an organisation, we are there about looking after companies bringing visitors to Europe. Why is that important? Well, you might think that it's in every destination's interest. Every company wants visitors, and it's natural. You want to welcome people from all parts of the world, and you will do anything to make sure they experience a good stay. Well, the actual fact is there is no political lobby outside of ITOA effectively fighting for the visitors' rights. Visitors do not have a vote. They are charged the cost of a visa. They are sometimes, put through unpleasant experiences at airports. It's all about, making sure that visitors and the companies bringing their visitors to European markets and destinations are looked after, welcomed, and supported. So we look into strengthening this network throughout the year. We meet our members, we bring them together at workshops and events, and it's all about making sure that the working groups look at the issues that are affecting companies in this industry. Who are our members? Our members are everything from tour operators in the traditional sense, groups operators, people who have tiny businesses in one destination only, and they just want to welcome visitors, say, to Rome, for instance. You'll find from this list there are coach operators, ground handlers, but there's a lot of hotels. Hotels have joined us particularly because they're, again, looking to really welcome their visitors, and they very much, with the change in the structure of the membership and the way we've grown, we've really outgrown the sort of traditional tour operator model. You have lots of online operators and aggregators who are there to really capture that market and really welcome people to the hotels and different attractions within the association and within Europe's destinations. Why is it important that we look after the LGBT traveller? Well, we represent companies and destinations from Iceland and Portugal in the west through to Russia and Armenia in the east. Just the last two even give you a slight inkling that there are certain issues that will arise in those markets that really need to be addressed by the companies in this sector. So whether you're a hotel group with 4,000 properties around Europe and you actually have a proactive policy on staff training and welcoming LGBT travellers, how do you make sure that is conveyed legally and safely in markets where the general acceptance is not quite at the level that we have in the UK, for instance? So these are all matters that have to be addressed by our members, and it has to be raised by companies welcoming visitors in Europe. We assume that we're always welcoming in Europe. That is not the actual visitor experience for so many. Just to give you a little bit about what we do through the year, we have a website. Our members are listed there. We have legal, tax, and technology advice. Information about our events can be found on our website. We have a brand new website we launched last week. And we have a lot of lobbying backup. And this is where ONBC comes into it. It's about making sure that we have the research partnerships in place, particularly in the LGBT market, to support our other partnerships with Mintel and Euromonitor. So we can look at visitor statistics in Europe as a total, but then we also look at really getting the sort of information and detail for our members in particular, and making sure that is opened up to them and they're aware of, there's a really good customer base here that I should be looking after. Are my staff trained? Are my team going to understand their needs and requirements? As we saw earlier, one of the hotels in London where you think central main market would be LGBT market into London, it doesn't always filter through. A little bit about the events we do. We do workshops throughout the year. These are B2B meetings. This is all about supplier meets buyer. So we're trying to make sure that the right types of operators meet the right types of hotels, attractions, and service providers. So again, this is another area. I was talking to an operator last night who has launched an LGBT site as part of his business, and he is showing full willingness and commitment to the market. Not just, let's try this, let's dabble in this. It's not about just saying, here, there's a great marketing opportunity. It's about obviously showing commitment and genuine understanding of the market. Very unlike another operator, which I shall not mention, some 15 years ago, a very major company online decided to launch a, shall we say, a pink portal. And they thought, well, we'll just fill it with everything pretty much the same, but we'll brand it differently. We'll rearrange everything just so it's a little bit more market friendly. It didn't work. They realized that the commitment wasn't there from above within the company, and effectively that fantastic opportunity in theory didn't turn out to be the real genuine conversion into developing a market early on, which they could well have done because there wasn't the internal structure and understanding, which is very much what we have here. Just to give a little bit of background, we do an offer. ONBC support our members through a fantastic offer to the value of $245. And ONBC partners, also members, they get the joining fee of the association waived. Just a little bit of background there. We also have a little bit of feedback from our members. It's just to highlight what we are there for. It's all about making sure that we are supporting companies and businesses and destinations throughout Europe in every way, in every aspect. So thank you very much. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks very much, Jay. It's very informative. As you may have noticed, my name is Darren Cooper. It's sit down there. For those of you that can read, I'm sure that's just about everybody. I feel like I'm at an award ceremony, actually. I'll try not to cry. Now, we did some research specifically for ATOA, which is available for all members of Out Now Business Class. You can register for Out Now Business Class at betterlgbt.com, and there you'll find specific research reports. We did a research report just focusing on the European market, and this was really just to educate ATOA members and give them an overview so that they are a little bit more aware about how much the market is worth. The European LGBT tourism market is worth $66.1 billion annually, so it's a sizable market, and that's comprised of the countries listed there. And what we also did was we looked at leisure travel frequency by plane. This was really just to give, again, ATOA members an idea about how many leisure travel trips LGBT tourists are taking within Europe. As you can see, it's a sizable market by air. Also, train travel within Europe. Obviously, it's another viable option. This just increases the options to sell to this market. And also, it's a very frequent mode of travel. And then we looked at some destinations, both within Europe and from outside Europe as well. There were some notable sort of regional differences. Specifically in Latin America, France and Paris are very popular destinations. So it's just making companies aware that if they're targeting different destinations or different countries, that different destinations can be more popular as well. So it's a very, very diverse market. And then also the honeymoon market as well. We touched onto this. Lots of popular honeymoon destinations within Europe as well. So this is another opportunity. So this is just one of the reports that we have. As I said, you can access much more data if you want bespoke analysis. We can do that as well, and that can all be found at betterlgbt.com. Also, this was the importance, I think Ian touched on this earlier, importance of a genuine welcome, so the importance of staff training as well. All ways that you can really engage with the market and deliver better service. So as I said, research, if you're interested in research, please do contact me. Thanks.
I talk to Darren more than anyone else in the world, actually, so we get on really well, which is lucky. Darren's a terrific consultant for Out Now. Okay, let's have a look at the value of the market. Everybody always wants to know, show me the money. Well, what we do at Out Now is we use a range of methodologies to collect data. There's no such thing as a perfect LGBT sample. We're introducing for the new data set in 2014 an algorithmic smoothing process so that we take out any distinctions within a particular country sample related to gender or age, and we weight those respondents according to matching the general gender and age distribution country by country. When we look at the reported figures for 2013 and then look forwards into 2014 and we add up the top 20 markets around the world, we see that the total LGBT market potential spend in 2014 is now valued at $202 billion during the course of 12 months. So it's a very sizable market. This shows you a breakdown of which countries are spending the most. The USA is by far the highest spender, followed by Brazil. We see other countries. These are rated in order of populations. So we can see if you're further down the line, such as France and the UK, they're overspending a market such as Turkey, for example, where average incomes are lower and tourism spending is lower as well. Some of the higher spending markets, Australia remains the highest spending market that is out there at this time. We're going to close by just looking at next trends. We've touched on honeymoons. We're also going to be doing much more work into Asia. And we've talked about LGBTI, I being intersex. We also have some partnerships. We've talked about a partnership we haven't talked about, but we train travel agents with LGBT training in Out Now Business Class in a partnership with online travel training, ott.travel. We have a partnership with Out Now Business Class and ATOA. And I'm also pleased to announce a new strategic alliance between Out Now Business Class and this organisation in Australia.
G'day, my name is Rod Stringer and I'm the chairman of GALTA, Gay and Lesbian Tourism Australia. GALTA is Australia's only national tourism body representing the gay and lesbian tourism in Australia, and we have for over 20 years been working with tourism partners and our members to develop and grow the market here in Australia. Our extensive membership comes from all the Australian states and territories, and it ranges from boutique B&Bs, gay-specific hotels, major hotel chains and all regional bodies. We have a large consumer database and represent our membership at all the major Pride and festival events. We are pleased to partner with Out Now Business Class because we see it as an ideal opportunity to facilitate global connections, increase visibility for our membership, and to foster the image of Australia as a gay welcoming nation. Sorry, I cannot be there with you, but if you would like to discover yourself more about GALTA and how to grow your business in Australia, stop by Out Now Business Class, LGBT Village at stand EM1555. And Ian and Darren will be able to share the information with you on what we do and pass on your details to us. So you can also email us at admin@galta.com.au or check out our website www.galta.com.au.
Now, I have a theory. I know Rod Stringer. He's an excellent tourism leader and has been involved in LGBT tourism for years. I think he picked that spot to film deliberately to spite us because we're here in London, but there we go. He's a lovely guy. I'm just closing. We're down to our last 5 minutes, and thank you for your patience. Just wanting to let you know that Out Now Business Class is the world's leading LGBT tourism networking association. We have strived during the last 2.5 years since we established this association to make sure that it was the best in the world. We provide all of our members with education, including unlimited online trainings in 4 languages for all members. We have networking and updates to be found at outnowbusinessclass.com. You can find videos, research reports, case studies, conference webinars and more to help you and your team understand this market better. I'm also pleased to announce for the first time ever that Out Now is now the world's largest LGBT trade association. We are, by quite a factor now, the biggest LGBT networking association in the world. We have 950 management members that you can reach with one click. These are decision makers working in different places around the world. Plus we have an additional 1,400 hotel partners, all of whom are members to train their staff so that what we see at check-in can be a nice experience. We're privileged to work with some of the world's best LGBT media products who partner with Out Now Business Class globally, and these are just a few of them, and we're very honoured to have their support. As a member, you have the right to use Out Now Business Class branding to signify to the industry that you are a member of Out Now Business Class. And you also have access to outnow.travel, which is our consumer portal. And I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. This will become bookable from the 1st of December. And all of the Out Now Business Class trained hotels are contained within this system with a special mark to indicate that they're an Out Now Business Class member and they're training their staff, so that the consumer can see our compass symbol and know before they go that the hotel in that particular establishment have been trained and are ready to welcome them just like every other guest. We have a nice clean interface. We have partners in the program including Manchester, Stockholm, Helsinki. You can book hotels most anywhere in the world. We have members all over the world, but these are actual destination marketing officers who choose to partner with us. Berlin, of course, and the Gold Coast in Australia. I told you the future is arriving. If you would like to be sure you leave your business card, for everybody in the room, we'd like to offer you a complimentary 2014 membership in Out Now Business Class. So please be sure to leave your card and we'll come back to you with information on how to activate that for you so you can experience that for yourself. We're quite proud of it and we'd love to hear from you what you think of it. Asia, basically just to let you know that we're launching LGBT2020 into these countries, Taiwan, Singapore, Thailand and Hong Kong. And that will be launching from early next year. So when we're here next year, we'll have some much more increased data. Those of you in the UK who are part of the LGBT industry, we're very pleased that we have a Pink Pillow Roadshow for Berlin Tourism, which is happening in London, Birmingham and Manchester. I'm not sure, Darren, if there's any spots left. They're almost full, I think. But if you would like to learn more, you may well like to join us in early December. They're going fast, you need to be quick. If you go to the LGBT Village to see Darren, if you'd like to do that, that will be fine. And that's where you'll find us. If you'd like to learn more, we won't have time to talk now. I do apologise. Leave your card, but come and see us today or tomorrow at stand EM1555. We're just behind Andalusia in the European section, and that's the LGBT Village. We're very, very honoured to have some wonderful partners. You'll see here we have Yucatan Holidays, GT and Diva. We have Mexico Tourism Board, Fort Lauderdale, as well as Helsinki, Stockholm, Gaia Travel, and more. For all of you, as a special thank you from Yucatan Holidays, this is actually 5 nights free in Cancun, which I think sounds pretty cool. If you come by the LGBT Village, you can speak to Salvador and Leila from Yucatan Holidays, and they'll be happy to get you one of these vouchers so you can experience what they have to share with you. My time is well and truly past. I want to remind you what we started with, which is LGBT spells people. And this takes about 90 seconds, and then we're done.
Love, shine a light in every corner of my heart. Let the love light carry, let the love light carry. Light up the magic in every little part. Let our love shine a light in every corner of our hearts. Love, shine a light in every corner of my dream. Let the love light carry, let the love light carry. Like the mighty river flowing from the stream, let our love shine a light in every corner of my dream. And we're all gonna shine a light together. All shine a light to light the way. Brothers and sisters in every little part, let our love shine a light in every corner of our hearts. Love, shine a light in every corner of the world. Let the love light carry, let the love light carry. Light up the magic for every boy and girl. Let our love shine a light in every corner of the world. And we're all gonna shine a light together. All shine a light to light the way. Brothers and sisters in every little part, let our love shine a light in every corner of our hearts. And we're all gonna shine a light together. All shine a light to light the way. Brothers and sisters in every little part, let our love shine a light in every corner of our hearts. Shine a light in every corner of our hearts.
Thank you. And that, at Out Now, that's the way we sell tourism. LGBT is always about people. I can only say one last thing, which is thank you to each and every one of you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.